I'm just repairing a sculpture that had broken. It was already fired and done. Something fell on top of it and knocked a piece of it off. I'm using super glue to kind of help me patch it together. The glue wasn't strong enough on its own necessarily to do a permanent hold, but I just did it just to hold it enough for me to begin this next phase, of which where I started adding clay on top of already fired clay. It seems kind of unorthodox and doesn't really make sense because clay that's already dried has shrunk, and when this wet clay begins to dry, it'll shrink and crack. But towards the end of the video, you're gonna see what I did to prevent that. My vision for this sculpture kind of changed and evolved, so I wanted to add on more details to it because I just wasn't satisfied with what it looked like, and I'm probably just gonna keep adding and doing stuff to it as time goes on, because I love this piece and it means so much to me. I'll explain what this piece means later, but right now we're just kind of like discussing the process of what's going on. Now here I am pouring epoxy on top of the clay. The clay hasn't dried, and the reason why I have to pour it on when it's wet is because if I let it dry, it's going to crack. Now with the epoxy on top of it, it's still going to attempt to shrink and crack, but the epoxy will just kind of help keep everything for the most part in the place where I want it to be and allow the sculpture to be one, as opposed to everything just cracking and breaking off and being brittle. And then plus two, when I add the paint that I want to the sculpture, it'll give it more of the sheen that I'm looking for. I do not want a matte look for the sculpture.